Alright, sorry for the very long delay. I finally got around to making the video on the robotic quadruped, and yeah, so I guess I'll go get right into it. Alright, so I began this project as a competition for school. Actually, I already had this in mind, but the competition was an opportunity for me to see how good I could make it and maybe even win some money. Sadly, COVID ended shortly, and so I never got to see the outcome. I was able to place first regionally, but after that, the competition was canceled. So right now I'm currently unscrewing the robot. The top plate is held together by 4 screws. So once that's removed, I can access all the electronics. Most electronics are in the center, right? With the only exceptions being the motors, of course, placed where they are, but they all route into the middle area, as you can see with all the cables coming in from the sides. Okay, the robot was already partly disassembled, as I was always constantly working on it, as I was short in time. Looking inside, you can see that there were 2 holes. Basically, that's where the switches went through, and one powered the board, and the other one powered the motors. Okay, also inside there is a 3.5-inch touch display. I would have used it to put buttons on the side people could touch that will run different commands, or even just display some sort of information. Never got around to using it as didn't have time. The competition ended. Also inside is a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, which is the brain of the actual robot, and it runs just regular Raspbian, and the whole robot is powered by just a regular Python script for now. Attached to it is a camera in the front, which ideally would be used as a sort of object detection thing. Basically, it can detect walls or objects, or even maybe be used with a robot arm as well, for the robot arm to have a sense of what 3D space is. Connected to it is a motor servo controller, a Mini Maestro 12, I believe. Basically, the servos each have 3 pins, and there's 12 of them, so Raspberry Pi doesn't only have 36 pins. And so what I do is I got a separate servo controller, you plug it in there, and the servo controller plugs into the Raspberry Pi with just 4 pins. Going in further, there's a 1300 milliamp LiPo battery, 11.1 volts, I believe, and the servos themselves use 7.2 volts, and everything else is usually just 5 volts. So I also have a buck converter in there, which will probably be brought up eventually. And what that does is that decreases the voltage to 7.2 volts so that the servos don't burn out. I had an issue where I had either had too much voltage or too little. Basically, at one point, the whole thing was powered by a 5-volt supply, and that's enough. That's enough for the servos to work, but not at their full capacity, and so the robot couldn't stand with all its weight. Hopefully now it will stand. I can't really check, or haven't really checked yet, but ideally it should be able to stand. We'll have to see if they walk though. I haven't tested that yet. I originally used a different servo controller as the one seen on the screen, but again, that was 5 volts, and I cannot separate the server power from the board power, and so that was an issue, so I had to replace it. Also inside is just a 5-volt power supply that powers the Pi, the screen, and the actual board. Ideally, I should have used some sort of converter, but I was low on time and I didn't want to burn anything, and so I just went with the easiest route, which did increase the weight by a bit. That is basically all the parts in the center. It looks like a mess because it is a mess. It was actually worse before I zip tied it all. And even some parts are held together by a simple rubber band. The actual build has 3 servos per each leg. Basically, each servo does its own job. One raises the leg up and down, the other one swivels right to left, and the other one, forward and back, which allows it to move in 3 dimensions. The actual build is modular. We only have to remove a few screws. You can have different legs or change fair parts if something breaks very easily. I ran out of filament a lot, and I was always breaking parts or testing parts, and so that's why you see all the weird coloring scheme. The actual model I created on Fusion 360 as well as the Pocket Pi. One issue is that my 3-year student trial had ended, meaning that I can not really access those models very easily, so which postponed a lot of my videos because I had to figure that out. I also had to buy a program, and even with the student discount, it's still like $250 for Fusion 360. So I opted for SolidWorks instead, which is a much more professional software. So I focused on that, and I've had about 1 or 2 months of practice with it so far. Not really escalated compared to as Fusion, but eventually I should be able to get the hang of it. One issue is that I'm not sure if the Fusion model will export to SolidWorks very easily. I'll have to look into it. Also, maybe have to buy software for recording video, as it was on a Mac that I had the Fusion 360. And even though I tried to download it on my PC to at least look at the file, it didn't work in the end. So that's one issue to fix. Looking at the actual build again, you can see where things swivel, where things move. I try to design it where if it were to tip over on its side, that it can still get up, but parts got in the way, so I don't think this build can do it. I'm now currently entering university, and with all the scholarships I had won, I actually have quite a bit of spare money, meaning that I can now buy proper motors and motor controllers, have a proper power supply too for everything. So I'll probably be doing that, meaning that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this robot. I know I already promised a tutorial on this, so I'll have to see. But besides the Pocket Pi and this, I might start working on another project as I now have better equipment and better parts. Something that come to mind is either robot prosthetics or even just a better version of this robot dog, similar to the MIT Cheetah. But we'll have to see what I decide on. Either way, I'll probably still be posting stuff, maybe ideally every 2 weeks at least. School's also starting, so I'll be busy. But I treat this channel as my portfolio, and hopefully I can record a lot of the cool projects I like to work on. Anyways, I think that's it for now. Sorry for the short video and for lack of content, really. The next video should provide more knowledge into this. I'll also be posting the actual models soon. I was planning to fix them, but I'm not sure when I'll do that, so I'll also find a way to post them, probably on Thingiverse. Anyways, that's it.